Prime Minister Li Gillard has spent her first full day in China attending high-level talks at the Boao Forum. Ms Gillard met with the chief of the IMF, Christine Lagarde, discussing the global economy, the continuing recession in Europe and the economic crisis in Cyprus. She's also addressed the media, reaffirming the great opportunity the Asian region presents for the Australian economy.
As we've spoken in Australia about the economic opportunities of the age in which we live, the IMF is verifying that we live in the growing region of the world with economic opportunities which mean prosperity for Australians. Put simply, the economic opportunities of the region in which we live mean Australian jobs.
Ms Gillard will address the forum tomorrow before meeting with the forum's host and new Chinese President Xi Jinping to talk about trade, investment and security issues. Sky News political reporter Laura Jays is following the Prime Minister in China. She filed this report from Hainan.
This is the first day of the Boao conference, and Li Gillard is rubbing shoulders with some of the brightest and most important brains in the Asia-Pacific region, not only in politics but also in business. And it has been running for 10 years. Bob Hawke, the former Labor Prime Minister, was one of the co-conveners way back then. It really has grown from what was just concentrating on Asia to more of a global concept in the last 10 years. So Li Gillard, on the sideline of this forum today, is meeting with the Managing Director of the IMF, Christine Lagarde, also a closer neighbour in the Prime Minister, John Key, and also the Mexican President. As I mentioned before, a number of business leaders, a lot of them from Australia. Andrew Forrest from Fortescue Metals Group is one of the major sponsors of this event. And there's been no shortage of advice from the sidelines there. He says it's about time that Li Gillard and the government started to take the relationship with China a little bit more seriously. Peter Costello, the former Howard government treasurer, has also said the best thing the Australian government can do here is send a message of stability to China. Now, Li Gillard's most important meeting will come tomorrow with the President Xi Jinping. She'll have half an hour to make an impression, and of course she wants to spruik the credentials of the Asian Century White Paper and really forge a closer relationship between our two nations. So she really has half an hour to make an impression, but you can't help but think that President Xi Jinping has greater things on his mind. With the looming crisis in North Korea, world leaders and the world is watching China to see what and if it can do anything. Laura Jays, Sky News, Hainan.